Okay, welcome to episode 264. If you are listening live right now, we're going to be going through the questions submitted by subscribers. If you're listening on your podcast app after the fact, and by the time it gets to the podcast app, it's not going out live. This episode is the icebreaker with Tom. It will roll straight after this episode, switch over to the next episode in your list, which will be the full podcast with Tom. So follow this one through and then hit the next one. And if you want to be able to ask questions for the guests in future, you need to become a subscriber. That's where these questions have come from. You can do that on patreon.com/HK podcast. You can do that on hukia.substack.com, and the links to those are in the blurb of this podcast. Let's get into the icebreaker questions with Mr. Courage. Courage. What's your surname?
Currigan.
Fuck's sake.
Name me after a beer.
Courage.
I like that.
Where
I
do
mean,
you
I'll
get
take
courage
that.
from?
That would be a pretty cool.
Corrigan. Courage. I'm going to blame Liz. I reckon Liz.
A
Corrigan.
typo, yeah.
Corrigan. Courage.
I mean, I'll
Corrigan.
take that. I'll take that. That could be my, like,
Courage,
you know,
Courage is not a bad one.
that's a cool, that'd be like, yeah, call sign courage. I'll take that. Yeah.
How the fuck did I get that wrong? Anyway, Tom Currigan. Right. Question number one. Oh, if I'm glancing at my phone, it's because I'm reminding myself of the questions.
Okay.
Okay. Have you ever found yourself in unexpected danger, feared for your life or the lives of those around you? Unexpected danger. If so, what was the situation and how did you get through it? Pick from the numerous accounts, I reckon.
Well, there's obviously been a few. I like the unexpected, though. That's quite... Because the obvious ones are kind of, you know, going into a tick or whatever, and you know, they're always... The boys there would always be keen to have a pot, but an Apache, like, they made no secret that they were wanting to shoot you down. In fact, I think at one point they were going on about having $1 million bounty for an Apache pilot, like if they could get a hold of one, which would have been a bad day for you. But unexpected. Actually, there's one that it's very bizarre. So we got a shout. So for those who are familiar, you have a kind of one of the duties we did was called VHR, very high readiness. So you were in a tent next to the aircraft, so it's kind of Battle of Britain stuff, and there's literally a big red phone goes, right, launch 1-2 aircraft or wherever it is. So it's very reactionary. You've got to kind of be airborne within 10 minutes, off and rolling. And we got one, I think it was middle of the night. Yeah, it was middle of the night, which is unusual. There wasn't much stuff happened at night, to be honest. So we kind of launched, ran out to the aircraft, groundies all kind of arm you up, get it going. And I was a front seater, so you're doing the weapons, you're doing the commanding, so you're on the radios trying to find out where you're going, what's going on, rough location, and the back seater's there, like, flying the aircraft, taxiing it around. And because of the elevation out there, it's 5,000-6,000 feet above sea level, so when you're fully loaded up, bombed up, etc., you can hover, but it's easier to do what's called running takeoff. So you essentially take off like a plane to get you into translational lift, boring stuff. But essentially, you had to use. There was a little runway called a HALS.
The runway is called a house.
HALS, HALS.
HALS.
You can ask me what that stands for, and I can't remember. Helicopter something landing? Yeah. I'm sure someone will message in and say, it's this, you clown. It was a long time ago. But so you got the big runway at Bastion, and then you have the little HALS next to it, which is where all Joint Helicopter Command, all our aircraft were. And under the old system, you'd kind of be like, I would be what's called heads down. So you're in the radios, you're trying to find out a grid for where you're going, trying to get an update from whoever's giving you the info. So it'd probably be your guys just saying, oh, this has happened or that's happened, just to build up a picture in your head, because you've got it's not like you're kind of receiving rounds or anything. It's something is happening out anywhere in Helmand and you're being sent to go and deal with it. But we'd recently changed our SOPs so that we said, right, when you line up, look out the window because you're taking off in an aircraft. So even though you're trying to build stuff, it's like, right, that is a crucial part of of what you're doing. So concentrate, folks. Even though I'm not physically flying it, they're like, right, you got to concentrate because you're taking off in an aircraft. So we kind of line up, as it's called. So you're pointing down the runway and you speak to air traffic and we're like, right, request clearance takeoff. And they say, yeah, cleared takeoff. And because we were going to the east, So you then got to cross the runway, as in the big runway. So if there's, C-17s or whatever taking off, you can't just blast underneath them. So we kind of said, request takeoff and cross. And the guy, again, this is like 2 or 3 in the morning, said, yeah, clear, do that. So my mate in the back was like, yeah, let's go, clear takeoff. So he pulls power. We start rolling down the runway. And we got about halfway down, and it's not very big. And so we go lights off. So you're on the infrared system. So you're kind of looking around. So you can't really see. You can see pretty well, but it's not amazing. And I kind of look slightly to the left, and I see this little vehicle, little tug, chugging along towards the runway. And I remember going, is that a tug? And then he was like, And we suddenly realised this guy hadn't seen us or whatever. So he's going at the runway as we're still thundering down. It was still like the wheels on the runway. And at this point, we haven't really got room to stop because.
What speed are you going at?
So it's another good question about. So I'd say you're literally on 50, 60 miles an hour. Okay. So you're kind of trying to get, but you haven't got room because at this point your tails come off. So everything's pushed forward. So the rotor blades, the discs as it's called, it's leant forward, and you're all going to take off. And so we're just about teetering off the ground, and then suddenly realise he's not going to fucking stop. So shout was like, fuck, it's a fucking tug, pull everything. So you got the collective underneath you, which is the up and down lever. Just hold it like under your armpit. And I still remember thinking, I was like, if we hit that tug, we're going to flip over and land upside down. Like if it catches any part of this aircraft, we're just going up upside down, probably dead. Like, and it's that horrible moment of like, we're going to hit it. We are 100% going to hit it. And somehow through the wonders of Boeing technology, that this thing kind of shuddered, and we managed to scrape into the air, and we pulled all the data afterwards, and we missed him by about 5 or 6 feet. And it was one of those things, because again, it was totally unexpected. You were like, the adrenaline's up because you're ready to go, and you've been woken up because you're kind of you're like boots on, but you're not kind of, it's the middle of the night. So your arousal levels have gone way up, and then you're suddenly like, oh, okay, we'll get going. And then suddenly we're like, no, we're going to die. And I was like, I remember thinking I'd be really pissed off if they're like, how did he die? Like, he hit a tug and flipped over. So then there's a comedy moment of me shouting a lot of abuse at the air traffic controller. I was like, you fucking clown, you nearly fucking killed us. And essentially what he'd done is he's got a big board on his wall, and because we'd said, request take off and cross the main runway, so we put the little Apache marker over the main runway to stop anyone else taking off. And then a few minutes later, some guy had said, can I cross the Howes in his little tug? And he just looked at the board and went, because, stupid o'clock in the morning, he's probably not firing on all cylinders. I'm like, yeah, cleared to cross. And I did enjoy reading, because he did as a big safety report. And I enjoyed reading the tug guy who was like, yeah, I was driving towards the thing, looked left, saw nothing. I looked right to see a large aircraft approaching at speed. That was like, so I think he probably needed some new pants after that as well. But yeah, I think that was pretty unexpected. It was that moment of like, this is it. We're going in. Like, because as I say, I had no idea. I mean, Apache was pretty survivable in a crash, but I wouldn't have fancied trying. So yeah, that wasn't one I was expecting at the start of the day. But good fun, good times.
What is the one piece of advice you'd give a 16-year-old Tom?
Oh, wow. Yeah, maybe don't fuck up your A-levels, but because, well, I think it was, actually, no, I mean, to be fair, that was probably one of my biggest life lessons.
I fucked up my A-levels. I'm with you.
Well, it was that thing when I was a reasonably good rugby player, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to be professional, and it's all going to happen, and all these things are going to come for me. Because, you're a 16, so obviously you know everything. You know exactly how it's all going to pan out. Yeah, and it was that kind of, I don't need this. And I'd always got away with being reasonably smart, but I just didn't work very hard for it. I just kind of got to that point by kind of go, well, I can just do certain things. I can do it. And then, yeah, had a little bit too much fun when I was kind of 17. And I was, predicted pretty good grades, did not achieve anywhere near that. And I still remember my dad, we got the results, and he's just like, what? He's just like, he was like, he wasn't angry at all. Like, I'm not angry, I'm disappointed. But he didn't even say it. He just went, wow. And he was, literally like, and I could see, because up to that point I'd got like an army scholarship. So the army were paying for me to go to uni, and I'd done a lot of stuff with the Air Corps. So, and I could just see it all flashing before my eyes going, you fucked this. You've absolutely hosed this. Luckily, I kind of did a bit of a regain because I kind of called round clearing, because I was a decent rugby player at Leicester, which one of my choices were like, yeah, you can come along, you'll be all right. But it was a great lesson, because it was that kind of element of, this is what it feels like to fail massively because you haven't been asked to put the work in. And I think, there's a lot of people who can, there's always that, I'm just entitled to this. And it's like, no, that's not how it works. Like, if you want to get this, if you want to, my big ambition at the time was to fly Apaches. And I was like, well, if you want that, mate, you're going to have to put the graft in. It's not just going to happen. Like and I always think what's that saying? That hard work always beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And it's so true, because it is that element of, you can be really good and gifted, but that guy or girl who's putting in the graft, who's always working hard for it, they're gonna outstrip you. They're gonna do better than you. So yeah, I think with that, I probably would tell myself that, but I don't think I'd listen. So I think sometimes you just got to learn those life lessons. And lucky enough, it didn't totally hose my life. And yeah, it was still one of the most important things I think I've learned, and I still, retain it to this day, I think.
Better to learn it then than later on.
Yes, 100%.
I think when you're young and you've got time to actually learn a lesson from it.
Yeah, 100%.
Who annoys you? Who makes you angry?
Oh, who makes me angry? That is a good question. I don't know, actually. I try not to get too riled up by stuff, because I feel like there's so much stuff out there and social media's geared up for it. Like, they'll edit it, they'll pitch it, whatever you say, they'll kind of cut it up and put it in a certain context, and be like, and I had to stop looking at certain, whatever, Twitter or whatever, because suddenly the algorithm, because it's designed to get you riled up, and you don't even know what the context is, you don't know any of that stuff. So yeah, I think that's just trying to remove myself from that is kind of one of those things I've tried to learn to do. And you feel yourself getting triggered, and you kind of hear stuff and being like, yeah, that's not what the truth is, or maybe that is the truth, and it gets you all riled up. So yeah, I don't think there's anyone in particular that really, there must be, actually. I'm trying to think now. I'm trying to think of who's somebody properly riles me. Yeah, I think there's certain, what's his name, actually? He's quite annoying. Dan Bilzerian, is it, the guy? Is that his name? Something like that.
I feel like if you grew a beard, you'd be similar looking.
Is that, yeah, I mean, he's not a bad looking guy. But I think, when you actually, because I was fascinated by him and I did a lot of research, and it's like, you realise it's all smoke and mirrors. Like, he said this whole thing about he was like a Navy SEAL and all this, and he's like, no, he wasn't that. And
I didn't know that bit.
No.
I didn't know that bit at all.
He tried, but it didn't get in. And like, all this stuff about being this professional poker player, and it's like, no, it's all inherited money. And like, he basically projected having this lifestyle, because then that makes your stock go up. It's really interesting.
The thing is, I struggle here to dislike people like this, right? Some of them I do, some of them I don't.
Yeah.
But all of them, whether I dislike them or not, I look at them and go, you're a businessman or a businesswoman. Yeah. There's so many of them out there.
Oh, yeah.
And I think what it comes down to is, do I feel what they're doing is morally wrong? Or, yeah, in any aspect of it, whether that's fleecing people, rugging, getting investment from people, some fucking NFT or some other gig, or do I feel like they're making money in a morally wrong way, like Bonnie Blue?
Yeah,
who's
I don't even know who that is.
No idea who she is.
No idea who she is.
No idea. I mean, and there are good examples of them, like Conor McGregor. As an example, he's made most of his money from being a personality.
Oh yeah,
and he's not always the best personality, the best role model. In fact, rarely, I'd say. Dan Bilzerian is another one.
And there's a lot, Andrew Tate as well. Like, a lot of it is just,
oh God almighty.
Yeah, I mean, it is that thing of like,
oh my God.
If you step back from him, like you say, you're like, the stuff he's saying is abhorrent, and like, but it is that element of like, they're doing it because they know it's going to have an effect. They know that people will react.
He is a genius at it, though. Andrew Tate's a genius at it, because Andrew Tate and a lot of the ones who are best at it, these like actual like lifestyle thought in inverted commas, trying to be thought leaders and influence people to make themselves money. he's a genius in it because he injects actually relevant, real, good messages for his target audience. It's just that most of the stuff he says is bullshit. Some of it is really useful, like genuinely useful. I think life advice. The problem is who it's coming from, and the problem is it's not what he's about. He's only putting it in there to give him some validation. So basically, someone gets sucked in by the actual real advice, the same kind of advice you could hear from, I don't know, the fucking Dalai Lama, or Jordan Peterson, or maybe 10 years ago, or someone else you actually respect. He throws out the same nonsense, which has been said before, but that is a hook into influential minds. They get hooked into him, and then they start listening and believing everything he says.
Yeah.
And he like you said, he's an extremely distasteful individual.
Oh yeah, like, the stuff he comes out with, and you're like, but like you say, the problem is he gets this audience, and he's kind of seen as good looking and successful, and he's like, well, this, if you want to be like this, do this, and that's obviously not how it works. But yeah, I find that.
That guy,
I can't stand him, to be honest. Yeah,
there
you go. He'll be up. There you go.
I've got people I know and I respect who actually give that man, their listening time, and you go, are you fucking kidding me?
No.
Anyway,
that's good. Let's get everyone riled up.
Okay, who are your inspirations?
Inspirations. It's all very deep. I was not expecting these questions.
Welcome to Hey Shower.
I know. I like it. It's all very. Oh, that is a tough one. I mean, I think my parents are a big inspiration to me, which is cheese on toast, but they're both working class background, which you wouldn't get listening to me, but they worked really hard to get where they were, like set up their own businesses. And it's that kind of work ethic they've always had to kind of to provide and set up, me and my sister for kind of where we want to go in life, etc. So I think that's always a massive thing. What you see when you see that, how much work they put in, and both retired now, but like back in the day, and you didn't always understand it as a kid because you're like, oh, they're always away, they're always working, they're always doing stuff. But actually, as an adult, seeing that and the results that gives you, and going back to what I said kind of earlier about that element of it, you've got to work. You can't just turn up and expect stuff to be thrown in your lap. That entitlement, which I've got, it's one of my pet peeves, that kind of entitlement in people when they just, well, I should have this, I should be that, and I should get here. It's like, it takes work, it takes time. So yeah, I think they're definitely up there as people that inspire me and make me want to work hard and be better version of myself, which again, it's all very self-help, isn't it? But yeah, I think it's true. I think it's easy to sit back and go, oh well, this is this didn't go my way, and it's like, well, a lot doesn't. That's the reality. There's always setbacks.
I wouldn't describe it as self-help. So you say you're doing a disservice there. It's it's like self-awareness and again, it's not having that sense of entitlement.
Yeah.
Which I think is. Weirdly, I've been thinking a lot about British values, British culture recently.
Yeah.
And one of the things I realise is I think a core part of that British culture is not having a sense of entitlement. We always feel like someone else deserves something more than us, and we should work to earn it more than them.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of ex-mil who don't think that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I think so.
No, that's normal. Everyone should think like that. It's definitely not self-help.
Yeah, but I think that's a problem as well with a lot of social media and all that. Get a lot of social media bashing in, but it's that it's very results based. So it's that kind of, you see the highlight reel, you see all the cool stuff, and go, oh yeah, they've got this and that, and they've been here and they've done that, and you think, oh, it's mega, I want to do that, but you don't see the whatever it was going on behind the scenes, the kind of whatever it is, like if you've done an Ironman or something, you don't see like the training and the endless stuff when you think, I don't want to get up at this time and do this work and put it in. And people don't, sometimes people show that, but I feel like there is a lot of that in our world now, that you see the shiny end product a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
And you don't see all that requires to do that, and the sacrifices and the work and all that goes into it. And I think it's really hard, especially if I was like a teenager growing up now, just seeing all that cool stuff, even like gym stuff. You see all these like jacked guys on and girls or whatever, and you think, oh yeah, I want some of that, and it's like that person. I said, yeah, they might be doing some extra stuff as well to help them, but they're working hard. They're like denying themselves like a lot of stuff, like drinking, sugar, all the rest of it, for that one shot, for that one video of them looking amazing. And it's really easy to get tied up in that and just be like, yeah, I want that. And it's like, well, you can get that, but it's gonna be hard. It's gonna work. You have to work your ass off to get it.
Yeah, and it's not easy maintaining it.
No,
in fact, it's pretty goddamn miserable.
Yeah, and you always can't. You know, most of these guys will do all their videos or whatever in a small period because you can't maintain that look for very long.
Unless every minute of your day is going to be all about your diet and your exercise.
Yeah, exactly.
And unless you're like a professional bodybuilder or a professional athlete, you know, it's just not doable, sustainable.
Yeah.
And you don't need to do that anyway. It's not what you need to do to look good. It's not.
No, and it's not really healthy. I mean, you know, that whole like, you know, being dehydrated because you look more ripped and like not, you know, you can still be really fit and healthy, but that extreme is like out there. But again, you just compare yourself and you look and go, oh, can that guy or looks much better than me, or he's bigger than me, or more jacked, or whatever it is. And you know, I'm a 42-year-old man, so I can kind of go, yeah, I'm, you know, reasonably happy with how I look. I like feel like quite strong, quite in shape. But if you're a 17-year-old and you think, you know, you're aspiring to this, and it's like these guys have spent years honing that, but that's what they need. That's what they're comparing themselves with. And I'm like, dude, these are like the top 1% in the world. It's a big bar to achieve. But yeah, so I think it's challenging. It's challenging dealing with all that nonsense.
Yeah, icebreaker done. Okay, if you're listening to this on your app, it's going to roll straight into the full podcast with Tom. So keep listening, keep watching. Let it flick over to the next episode. Bye.